Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Shannan, your host of the Leader Podcast. Today, I have another incredible uh, guest with a truly inspiring, empowering, and even in a lot of ways, goosebump-inducing story, just like the one I love to showcase. My new good friend Shannan Mondor from the beautiful tropical Calgary, Canada. Right now is minus 22 and she's ready to go for a barbecue and go to the pool and the lake and all that. But anyways, we connected. I don't even know when exactly we connected, but we connected to a group on Facebook called the Need a Guest podcast group, and somehow, some way, the universe connected us. We had a chat. When was it? Last week, and it was
Yes.
a powerful conversation. And from the get go, I knew that I had to bring her in my podcast. So a little bit about her. Wow, I don't know where to start, but let's start from the beginning. She's the youngest of 8 children, one half brother, and she was brought in a house where addiction was normalized. Her father committed suicide when she was 2. She was depressed for a long time with suicidal thoughts. She ended up not graduating from high school. She became an extreme people pleaser, an alcoholic, and then she became the person she hated and was running away from. And because of being addicted to alcohol, she was also verbally abusive and not physically, but verbally. And she was only drinking not much, mind you, only 6 bottles of wine a day. And I still can't fathom how that is even possible. I can't even drink 6 bottles of water a day myself. At most, like I did was probably one bottle of wine. But again, that's what we're gonna dive deeper into that because that's part of her story. And yeah, and she quit drinking. Thankfully, she quit drinking 5 years ago, and all of that was led her to be in a position that she was always afraid not to be good enough for herself and for the family that she was in, and for in-laws and all that. And she did everything they wanted her to do due to her low self-esteem and self-confidence. And then finally, one beautiful day on August 17th of 2019, when she woke up, she said, enough is enough. She made the changes she needed to do to drastically change her life and literally save her life. And as a result of that, now she's a transformational mentor. She offers programs to help people transform their lives and move away from addiction. She did a TEDx talk, a book, as a podcast called Fulfillment and Faith. And this is just the start. She's been blessed with beautiful gifts, and now she's in a position in a stage of her life that she's here to share those gifts with others to inspire and change other people's lives. So quite a lot. And my MTA, my must trusted advisor, this guy is telling me that me and her we're gonna do more than one episode because there's so much to talk about. Anyway, without any further ado, Shannan, welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I am very blessed and I'm very honored to be in your presence. So thank you very much.
Pleasure's all mine. I'm really delighted that you connected because I'm always looking for people who have not only, we all have inspiring, empowering stories, but I'm looking for people with goosebump inducing stories. And that's something that as soon as I start talking to within the first 5 minutes of our conversation last week, I realized, wow, she needs to be on the podcast. So it's my delight, it's my honor, my motto, everything I do, my podcast, my academy, my books is all about how can I make you shine brighter than you're currently shining. So let's start making you shine even brighter, shall we?
You betcha. You
Let's
betcha. Because
go.
I got a lot of brightness in me, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So for people who don't know you, we're going to talk about all of that later on. But for people who don't know you, tell us who's Shannan as a person, as a human being, as a woman.
Oh, jeepers. Well, I'll tell you, I didn't know who I was that about 5 years ago because of all the trauma that I went through my entire life. But through this whole process, I am an amazing mother now. I am a wonderful wife. I am strong. I am confident. I'm abundant in absolutely every area in my life. I'm at peace. And you know what I found about all of it
Hmm.
is there is such a wonderful human being inside of me that I do truly love, and I no longer doubt at all anymore. And I know with all of my being that I am worthy. I am worthy, and so is everybody else there. You just have to find that little spark within you and go for it. And really believe in yourself. That's who I am. I am Shannan Mondor. I am strength.
Oh yes, oh yes. You're so right. Because what the thoughts we entertain, the words we speak, they literally manifest our reality. It may sound cheesy to some people. I used to believe it was cheesy, but then since my awakening, I saw them in motion, and it's been a magical ride, just to put it mildly. So yeah, what you believe,
And the
what
people that, and I gotta say, I gotta extend on that comment
Mhm.
there. The people that think it's cheesy,
Mm,
I'll be blunt, those are the individuals that put lack and limitations on themselves. Those are the people that judge because they don't like themselves. So when you look at those things as if they're cheesy, you need to look within yourself. What is it about yourself that you feel is extremely cheesy? That's what you need to work on.
and also because these are the people that need it the most. You know.
Yes. Yes.
Anyways, we're gonna talk about all of that in a moment. What I like to do usually with my guests, I like to start having a look under the hood, so to speak, to see what's in your heart and to have a heart-to-heart conversation to further get to know you as a person. Ready?
You bet.
All right, let's start first with a series of rapid-fire questions. So tell us, what makes you happy as a person?
Waking up every morning and knowing that it's a new
Mhm.
day, it's a new beginning, and it's a new chapter in my life. And
Beautiful.
I get to decide what it's going to be like for that day.
You're the director of your own movie. Each day is a new
Mhm.
chapter, blank slate with a pen. It's you to write the story.
Yeah, yeah.
What makes you smile?
Oh, just thinking back from where I was to where I am now, and my children and my
Oh,
husband, the
oh,
life that
yeah.
I have today, that makes me smile. And
And you
knowing where I'm going,
and
and
your
knowing where,
and your impact and sharing your gifts and on and on
yeah,
and on. You know.
yeah, there's
Um,
there's just there's so many things. There's not just one.
I know, I know. Now let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches higher. What makes your heart sing? What sets your soul on fire?
When I speak my truth about my journey, and I know that I'm making an impact on other people and they resonate with me and they can feel what I'm talking about.
Abs-
That is my passion.
Absolutely. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry? Other than the cold.
Yeah, you know what? That one's a hard one. If you would have asked me this like years ago, it would have been, I would have had a whole list.
Mm.
But what makes me angry now? Oh, you know what? I've worked on that so hard that I got to think on that one, to be honest with you.
No
There's not a
problem.
lot that makes me angry anymore.
That's a beautiful place to be.
Hmm.
How did you reach that point?
A lot of reflection on who I am, where I came from, looking at compassion, forgiveness for myself and for others, taking responsibility and ownership for my life, and working through all my trauma and realizing that my trauma was actually a gift. And inside that
Okay.
gift was my life purpose. And that's why I'm
Absolutely.
here today.
Absolutely. What scares you?
That's another one that's a hard one.
Not even bears?
I don't like snakes. Snakes
Mm.
scare me.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Snakes scare me, but on a deeper level, there's not a lot that scares me anymore either, because I know the one that I'm in control of every of my destiny of my life. So if something scares me or fears me regarding that, I have to sit with myself and I know that it's within me.
Would you also say that because you already slayed your demons, that now you say, bring it on? I'm
They're
able
not
to
there
take on
anymore.
everything.
They're
Yes,
gone.
exactly.
I've confronted them all. I
Yeah,
have confronted them all. Yeah.
beautiful.
Perhaps maybe walking on a stage and I might, trip.
Really?
I don't know.
Just make sure you don't drink before. I'm joking. I know you
Yeah,
said
yeah, yeah, exactly, right? 6 bottles of
just
wine.
water.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Cool, awesome. What would you say is your personal number one superpower?
Vulnerability,
Mm,
being truthful and expressing my feelings and emotions openly. especially if I tear up or, whatever it might be,
Mm,
because I know that I'm still in the stages of healing and I'm human. I will be healing for the rest of my life because there are, some impacts of my pain that will never, ever truly go away. But those wounds are now scars, right? So
absolutely.
whenever I talk about them and I can see how it's affecting my audience or my clients or whatever, it will draw so many emotions because I know what they're going through because I've been there.
Absolutely. What would you say is one thing that you did not value before that you value more and more nowadays?
Well, of course, me, but I would have to say, my marriage.
Mm. And what would you say is one thing that you did value before but you're no longer valuing?
What other people think.
Oh, I love that. The soonest people can come to that realization, the sooner they can change their life drastically. Everybody,
Hmm.
no exception. Even if you're the best and the best you're doing, can be even better than best.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's
Absolutely. And that I'm so glad that all of that came earlier, within my journey, and it was forward a lot quicker. And I think that's why I advanced so quick because I picked
mm,
up on it right away, right? Everybody started to show their true colors. But I also changed so quickly because I wanted to. I wasn't going to lead that life that I had. I was committing to myself 100%. And I would do anything to become the person that I am today.
you just said something that really almost triggered me in a good way. You said people showing up the true colors. Isn't that amazing? You do things for
Mhm.
people, you reach out to them and with good intention, and all of a sudden they blow up and they lash on to you, and that's when you say, wow, this is what this person was all about, and this is what
Mhm.
they really had in mind. Isn't
Yeah.
that
But you
interesting?
know what? I was that ex I was that exact same person that they
Mhm.
were. So
Yes.
I attracted that into my life and I know that, but just as soon as I grew, my
Mm,
eyes opened up. I awakened.
yeah.
And so it was time for me to move on. And those individuals are still where they are, in life. And that's okay. You know, um, that if they don't feel the need to grow or they're happy where they are, then that's great, right? But I wanted better for myself. I didn't want to be partying every weekend and whatever it was.
Mm,
you know I had to take inspired action to become the individual that I wanted to be now, so I had to look at myself at an end result of what I wanted to be.
mm,
And it was like, so I would always question myself, and I still do to this day. Would Shannan act like that? Or would Shannan be drinking? Or would Shannan have this type of individual as a friend? Would this Shannan put herself in this environment?
mm.
And a lot of times it would be no. No, because that's not the old Shannan. I am progressing and taking action to become the new person that I want to be. And
And
that's a lot of things that a lot of people don't want to do. They don't want to take action.
and just like you said, it's okay for them because they're not ready. We're all on our own journey.
Right.
All of us will
Right.
get there. Some of us, just like on the highway, each car has their own lane.
Mhm.
Some will get faster than others, or in school, some are better student than others, but eventually everybody graduates. Same thing here. So,
And there has to be release so you
mm,
can bring new people in. And that's what I've
absolutely.
done. And so now, back in my day, looking at who I was vibrationally, with the toxicity and the alcohol and the abuse and all of that was happening, those are the individuals that I had as friends as well. Those are family members, though. Yeah, they were all over the place. I created my outside world. So once I released all of that, and then I started to grow, then I started to bring in new people, and then those people fell off. And now I'm at such an extreme high vibration. Like the people that I've got in my life now, I know that they truly love and respect me 100%. Like when I did my TED talk in Las Vegas, like these colleagues of mine, these friends that I have, they were the most loving and supporting people I have ever had in my life. And that's even over and above any of my family members, because I had to
Mhm.
release all my family members. And
Yes.
now these amazing people have stepped in. And I'll tell you, that was the most amazing thing. I have never been more supported like that ever in my entire life. And
Mm,
that's also including on my wedding day.
wow.
And, so, and I just keep growing and growing and growing. And then all these amazing people are coming in now. It's to the point where I don't have to release people anymore. They're just coming along with me on my journey because they are the same type of people. And we're all doing the same work.
We attract what we are.
Yeah. Yeah, these are people that have found their life purpose, and they're driven, and they're, just amazing, loving people. They're successful and they're abundant in every area, and they love themselves. They love themselves, right?
Yeah. Wow. Powerful. Love that. We can
Mhm.
expand on that and do an entire talk just on that, but we may do
Oh,
that
absolutely, we
in
can.
a
Yeah.
different episode. But this is powerful. Seriously, this is beautiful. Now, let's move forward. You like traveling, do you?
I love traveling. I
I
love
know,
it.
I know we can do an entire episode just on travel, but I want to take you down a different type of travel, down memory lane. Go back to when you were growing up as a kid. You know, when we're kids, people around us, family, friends, relatives, neighbors, teachers always ask us, "Hey, Shannon, what do you want to become when you grow up?" What was your answer to that as a little girl?
To be honest with you, I don't have any good memories from my childhood
Oh, okay.
because growing up, I always lived in fear. I had anxiety. I became depressed at such an extremely young age,
Mm,
because when you're always worried about, being pushed up against a wall or down on the floor or whatever from your abuser, there's that shadow and that cloud that's always over you. I can remember going to school, and I've always felt that I was going to be judged because of my last name and the reputation of my family. So that was really, really, really hard on me. And my escape, back then, I started drinking when I was 14 years old. And I grew up in a small community of 700 people. And that's what they did in small communities, is everybody drank on the weekends. And it's still like that to this day in smaller communities as well. But what the weird thing is, now that I'm not in any of that anymore, is a lot of parents drink with their children,
wow.
even in the areas still to this day that I grew up with.
Mm,
So there are teenagers partying with their parents, and they're at house parties and all of that, right? And yeah, it was completely alcohol influenced. So
mm.
that's why I started drinking at such a young age. So that was one of my escapes, starting when I was 14 years old, but also getting on sports teams. That was my escape. That's where I felt really, really good, because I was good at sports. I was extremely athletic.
What sport did you play in?
Every sport. I played volleyball, basketball. I played softball. And then when I got older, I started playing, I did traveling for different baseball teams. So I ended up playing 7 days a week. Then, of course, dabbled into golf, and I am still very, very athletic as well.
Good. Awesome. So growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
Disliked it. No, didn't like it.
Why?
Because I was always told by my abuser, which was my oldest brother, growing up, from my very first memories, that I was dumb, I was stupid, was never going to amount to anything. Then once we got into my adolescent years, then that was when it started to get really bad. That's when he was starting to get more physical. He would call us, me and my sisters, bitches, sluts,
Wow.
like really, really bad names, whores, you name it. He would call us that. So my high school years too, that was when my depression had really, really kicked in. And he was around us a lot at that time too, because he had been through two divorces by then. He had abused his wives, put them in hospitals. Like
Boy.
he was a very, very, very mean individual. He still is to this day. And so whenever he would come over to our house, which was all the time, he controlled my mother as well. And my mother never did anything because my mother was abused by my father. And when my father committed suicide, my oldest brother basically took over the role. So what was normalized in our household actually came from my father because my father extremely abused my brother. So when, my brother was physically and emotionally abusing me and my sisters and the rest of the family, my mom would do nothing because that was just normal. And then so I despised her as well because she never protected me. I never, ever, ever felt safe growing up. There was nobody that I could run to when things went bad. And if I did, I ran to another brother or sister to their house to be protected. But what could they do?
Wow. So the issue
Because
was
they had the fears just as much as I did.
so the issue was mostly your older brother.
Always, always my older brother.
The other
And I
siblings were
despised
good.
him. Pardon me?
The other siblings were good.
Would I, all my brothers and sisters have an addiction of some sort or a mental illness because of the way that we were brought up.
Mm.
There's not one in our family that does not have something that has affected them from their past. And that's why within our family, we're in our fourth generation of addiction that I know of, because I didn't know my father's parents. I knew my grandmother,
Mm.
but she didn't have an addiction. But my grandfather had passed on. He had died at when even before I was born. So I don't know if he did, where the addiction stemmed from, but the addiction, first generation that I know of was my father. Then it was me and all my siblings.
Mm.
And within me and my siblings, the addictions are drugs, alcohol, food. One of my sisters went through the whole process of gambling as well. And then I've got my nieces and nephews. They've got their addictions. And now it's gone into my great nephews. I don't have any great nieces yet, but into my great nephews. Oh
Oh,
yeah, I do have nieces. Yeah, sorry, no, that's not that was incorrect. I do have great nieces as well. So my great nieces and nephews, and there is definitely addictions there. One actually just passed away within the last year from an overdose as well. Yeah.
sorry
And
to.
then, so that was why when I woke up on August 17th of 2019, I was like, this is crazy.
Mm.
It was just such a profound moment because it was almost like, holy shit, like you've got to stop this, what's going on. And that was when I really looked at what did I want in life. I know what I didn't want, but at the same time, what did I want? And I was too afraid to say what I wanted because then I would hurt other people. And
Mm.
that's a whole different show as well, too, right?
Oh yes.
Um, but then I realized that, you know what, the only person that can stop what's happening generationally with these addictions and abuse and mental illness is me. And I was willing to do it. I would do anything because I'm looking at my children that were looking at their mom drinking 6 bottles of wine a day. Of course, nobody knew I was drinking 6 bottles of wine a day except for me. I kept that like under wraps. It got to the point that I couldn't even get out of bed. It was that bad.
So you would lock
And all
yourself
I could
in
think
your
about,
room and you would lock yourself in your room and drink alone.
well, no, this is what I did. Do you want to know
Mm.
my daily routine? It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I would get up in the morning by about 6:37. Then I would right away start drinking. I've got 4 children. I would get them ready to for school, make their lunches. By the time I was taking them to school, I had already drank probably about a bottle of wine. And
Holy.
that's like, yeah, that's before 9 o'clock. I'm taking them to school for about 8:45. Yeah. And then I would come home and I would, which is the crazy thing because I would continue doing my exercises. That was, and I believe that was the only thing that really made me continue to be sane. Because what was happening at that time, why I started drinking so much at that time was because I started to have triggers, these visions of when I was in my childhood. And I didn't know whether they were real or not. And I couldn't tell anybody about what I was seeing in my mind, because I didn't know if they would believe me.
Mm.
And then if they didn't believe me, how could I prove it? So I was like, is this real? Is it not real? Is it real? Is it not real? And that's all what was going through my head throughout the whole day. So basically I was going insane is what was happening. And then so what I did was that was why I started to numb,
Mm.
was with the wine. And then so then throughout the day, I would continue drinking wine. I got to the point by about 1 or 1:30 that I was ready to pass out. So I would, sleep for about 2 hours, and then I would get up by about 3, just before the kids came home. All the while I'm having a glass of wine here, a glass of wine there. I'm hiding drinks in my closet, downstairs, out in the garage, like everywhere. Like I had bottles everywhere of wine. And I also made wine, right? That was
You
my
made wine.
big, I made wine. Yep.
Holy
Yep.
wow.
Made wine. Yep. So then I would run the kids to their sports, whether it was dance or whatever. So I was driving impaired.
You never
And
get
this one,
caught or stopped. Wow.
oh my God, I just think now, oh God.
Your angels are protecting
You
you,
know,
right?
maybe it would have been a godsend, that I didn't, I should have got caught. Um, but I guess the universe had different plans for me or whatever, but no. And then it just got to the point, that I would end up passing out at night, and then I would just continue on. But a lot of my drinking was hidden. It was under wraps. Nobody really knew how much I drank until it got to the point that I could not hide it anymore. I would just wake up in the morning, start drinking. Then I was literally, I had given up at that point in time. I had no goals. I had no dreams. I had like absolutely nothing. All I could see in front of me was probably about 2 inches. And I'm not kidding. And all I could see was black. I didn't want to go any further than that. I didn't, all I wanted to do was lay in my bed, drink, get up, and the pain of being awake,
Mm.
because of what was happening in my recall of my childhood. And it was like, and then a girlfriend of mine actually came to visit, and that was at the point where it was bad. And I thought to myself, all I need is 24 hours for her to be around to try and be normal. But of course, she's a psychiatric nurse. She's around people that were like me, had addictions and all of that. So I couldn't hide anything. And she looked at me after about an hour being in my presence, and she's like, "You're going to kill yourself, aren't you?" And I was like, "I am." And that was when I just spilt the beans about everything. And she said, "You've got to get into a treatment center." And a lot of people say, at this point, well, what was your husband doing? Remember when I said earlier that I had turned into the person that I most disliked, which was my brother? I actually became him. So
Mm.
I became extremely verbally abusive to my husband. I turned into an alcoholic like my brother. I turned extremely abusive like my brother. And I was doing it to all the people around me that I loved.
Including your kids.
No,
Mm.
no. But you know what? Would I say that I abused them? Absolutely, by conducting myself the way that I did. I damaged them for sure.
Mm. Okay, let's get back to the moment. Just want to go back to when you were growing up. So because of all of that, you mentioned you did not like school. How was growing up in that kind of environment affected your schooling?
Oh, I was a horrible student.
Mm.
My marks were not marks were not good.
Mm.
And then once I got into grade 12, that was when my depression was really, really, really bad. And it got to the point where it was even hard for me to stay awake. I had chronic depression, but back in like 1987 would have been the year that I would have graduated. Back in the 80s, people really didn't talk about depression,
Yeah.
anxiety, any of that stuff. Everybody was
Mm.
closed, and a lot of people were uneducated about it too. So it got to the point that I couldn't even get to school anymore because all I wanted to do was sleep. So I ended up not graduating at all,
Wow.
which only instilled into me even more that I was dumb, I was stupid, I was never going to amount to anything. So what my brother had instilled into me had become a reality because I truly, truly believed that about myself.
Wow. So when you were in school, so sorry, back in the time, back then, what was your very first job? And do you remember how much you get paid for the first time you worked?
I got paid, oh my goodness. I can remember the reason I was so desperate to get a job in high school was because I was in grade 11 and my brother was demanding that I pay my mom rent when
Oh,
I'm in grade
wow.
11. Yeah, that's how absurd it was, right? Um, my first job, I do believe I was a dishwasher in a kitchen in a restaurant. And it was the grossest
Oh, yeah,
job I've ever had.
I can imagine.
But of course, what kind of job am I going to take back in like 19, it would have been in like 1985, 86, when I'm desperately, being told, you need to go out there and get a job because you should be paying mom rent. Actually, no, I shouldn't be,
Yeah.
that fear was instilled in me.
Where was that? Was that in Alberta or somewhere else?
So that was in Saskatchewan, which is
Oh,
the
okay.
next province
Oh, yeah.
over. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Weyburn, Saskatchewan.
Oh, wow. So yeah, small
Hmm.
town Saskatchewan back in the mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
Not many opportunities. Not
No, there's not. And then, of course, I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I do got to say, working at Kentucky Fried Chicken was one of my most favorite jobs because it was with all of my classmates. So I do have happy times too. You know what I mean? But my happy times were with my friends or with sports. It
yeah.
was not a home environment because
Yeah.
any Christmases, birthdays, any family celebrations, there was always chaos, there was fighting. And then it just got to the point where our family never got together at all. There was so much separation. There was so much jealousy. There was so much anger and hatred towards each other.
So you said you're the youngest of eight siblings.
Yes.
So how was it growing up in such a large family without even looking at all the dysfunctionalities within the family? Were you the one to be always just stay quiet, be cute, and just don't say anything, or you were?
No, you know what? I was the baby of the family.
Mm,
I can remember in my younger years, my oldest sister, because there was a age difference. I'm thinking about 14 or 15 years.
that's big, yeah.
So, so I was more like her daughter.
Mm,
So I can remember being taken everywheres with her. Um, but there was a lot of loneliness for me too because of the age difference between all my brothers and sisters. Because my oldest brother, which I thank God, I don't ever recall him living in the house with me when I was just little. He would just always pop in and out, in and out, in and out, especially, well, when my father had died, right? Because he was there to help raise us with my mother. Would I call it raising? No, it was called abusing is what he did,
mm,
and controlling and whatever. Um, but like Christmases and that, I can remember in the younger years, yeah, they were great. But then as the years got older, and then of course more of the addiction started to happen with my older siblings, there would be more unjoyous times when it came to Christmas occasions, because then of course they had their families and then more my nieces and nephews were brought into the picture. Then you could start to see where they were trying to separate because of the chaos that was happening between all
mm.
the siblings. They didn't want their children to see the fighting, but yet I got exposed to see everything. Like I seen everything. And yeah, so it wasn't a great thing. And it still to this day is not a great thing. That's why I had to separate from my family. But the biggest thing too is I always wanted to have a big, beautiful, happy family. So even as I got into my older years, I would always have the family barbecues or things like that because I always thought people can change. They're going to get better. Especially when I started to have my children, I wanted them to get to know their aunts and uncles and everything.
Sure.
But at that time as well, I didn't see what the major problems and addictions were because I was in them as well. That was my normal.
Speaking of that, so when you were let's say we were together in the same class in grade 10, 11. What kind of student, what kind of girl were you? Were you the shy type, the quiet type? Were you the
No, no,
life of the
I was the
superstar athlete? Were you the nerd?
I was I was athletic, because I was a people pleaser. Oh,
Mhm.
I did anything for people to like me.
Yeah, so you're
And that was
compensating
the
for the lack
beginning
of,
stage.
so we're compensating for the lack of affection and love at home, at school.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yep, absolutely. I would follow what other people were doing just so I could fit into a group.
mm,
Being popular was huge for me because that would cover up what was really happening with inside me, how
mm,
my thoughts and feelings were towards me. I disliked myself so much in my younger years. And I believed that I was ugly. I truly believed that I was ugly. And another thing too, because I had such abandonment issues as well, and I didn't feel that I was brought up in a safe environment. I always wanted to be at everybody else's house. And that's where I was exposed to what their relationships with their families were. And that's when I came to the realization, like, holy shit, my family is screwed. Like I'm seeing my girlfriends, talking with their parents around the supper tables and they're telling each other that they love each other and all this other stuff.
oh,
I didn't have any of that. I was never told that I was loved growing up. I can remember telling my mom that I loved her when I was 27 years old. That was the first time. And I'd never, ever been told that I was loved. And I can remember her saying it back, but she had to like literally choke it out of her because she felt so uncomfortable. Now, to this day, I tell my children every single day that I love them. They say it back, and even with my husband, that is like said every single day, numerous times a day.
yeah. So when you're seeing all your classmates having loving relationship with their parents and all that, how did that make you feel? Did that make you feel even more depressed? Because, hey,
Oh
why
yeah.
have it and we don't have it at home? Did you try to at least try to talk to your other siblings or your parents to say, hey, why can't we have a normal, like, look at what they are having, why can't we have the same here? Or that was
No, you know
out of the
what?
question.
And I really believe that is why I really wanted, our family to be together. Did we
Mm,
speak openly and honestly about those feelings and emotions? No, we know that we didn't.
mm,
Because like I said, that was our normal. And so my older siblings and that, they didn't think anything was really wrong. They just thought that that's just the way it is. They were just living their life how they knew it to be. you know and back in the day too, we could see that, especially my older brother was beyond addicted to drugs and alcohol. And it was always brought up, like he's got a problem, like, but back then too, it wasn't like go to a treatment center. People just wanted to get away from him. We were more in a fight or flight mode, get away from him, not be around him.
mm.
There was so much anger and resentment towards him. We loathed him. But then as I got older too, when I went through my whole process of my addiction, that was when I realized, like, oh my God, how he felt is exactly the feelings that I'm going through right now. And all those things that he said to me all those years that I was ugly, stupid, dumb, whatever it was, those were actually his feelings of how he felt about himself. And that was generational as well, along with addiction too, right? But
Mm.
where did he get that from? That was an identity that he carried within. I carried that identity, but I got that identity from him. And then I know he got that identity from my father because my father did the exact same thing to him. And
Nice.
that was a real eye opener. That was one of the biggest, hugest shifts and realizations that I had.
And how did that make you feel?
How did it make me feel? Number one, it made me relieved that I could actually come to a realization like that. Of course, there was freedom in it as well, but it also brought compassion. I do
Mm.
look at my brother now today. I don't have anything to do with him at all. I haven't for years, but at least I can understand him. And of course, I also realize too, that's his journey and that's his path. And nobody's going to help him unless he helps himself because nobody helped me. I had to come to that realization myself. And I also looked at my mother as well. And she's on her own path. She's had many times, just like we all do, to have that awakening moment. And it's just kind of like, how many times do you have to hit rock bottom? And that's what I look at, like with my brother. How many times do you have to hit rock bottom until you get it? And
Mm.
now he's so far down there. I don't even know what to say.
Or maybe, some people, and, as we all know, nothing happens to you, but for you,
It
and
happened. Yeah.
for your own journey. So maybe that one thing that changed my life, my perspective of everything is that we're more than just this physical body.
Hmm.
We're eternal beings having a temporary physical experience. Just like at night
Hmm.
when you retire, you sleep, your body shuts down. In the morning, wake up, brand fresh, new day ahead of you. So just to make a comparison, life is like a movie or a theater play. At the end when the curtain falls, all the actors go backstage and high five each other. Oh, you did well. Next time you do this. But before you start a play, so I want someone to play the tough person, or the mean person, or the beautiful
Yeah,
person. Your brother, before, for example, I don't know if you believe in that, but I strongly believe in that we plan our lives. We plan,
absolutely.
especially pre-birth planning and all that. So I wouldn't be, of course, it's probably that way. You and your brother, you planned, and your family, you planned this life the way it is for him to be the difficult, the mean, unsupportive, abusive person to help you in your journey to waking up so that you can achieve the destiny, your goal that you're meant to be in this lifetime. Maybe it's not for him. It's not his goal or his mission in this lifetime to awaken, but to help you in awakening to your own true purpose by by playing his role to perfection, which is, hey, at the end of it, it's a role. It's like a movie. It's like a play
Hmm.
for you
Hmm.
to trigger you to the max, not only him, but your parents and all the surroundings you grew up, so that you can become the person you're meant to be, to have the impact you're meant to be. At least that's my humble understanding of why we are here for. What are your thoughts on that, on viewing things? And not just to add to that, one thing that changed my life also was understanding the tremendous power of questions. When before my awakening, I got my awakening at the start of the pandemic. Before that, when something bad happened to me, I asked the wrong questions, such as, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why? Why is life so unfair? What is God? What did I do? And when you whine like a little bee, nothing good comes out of it. You create a self-sustaining and repeating cycle of a vicious circle. But instead, when you ask a more empowering questions, just, what is this trying to teach me? What is a lesson for me to learn to that? So when you now, Shannan, look back in your life with the eye of wisdom and experience that you have now, and understanding, awakening, when you ask yourself, what was me growing up in that kind of environment trying to teach me? What is a lesson for me to learn to that? I would love for you to dive deep into that, and get your thoughts on what I just mentioned, that your brother is in this lifetime, his mission is just to trigger you enough for you to become the person you're meant to be, so you can achieve your beautiful destiny. Would love your thoughts on those 2 points.
Okay, I actually love this aspect that we're talking on now because number one, I do believe in everything that you had said.
Mm,
And I am a huge believer in things are not happening to me, they're happening for me.
exactly.
That is huge. And it's so funny because when I was going through the process and growing up and everything, one of the big things that I really came to the realization within my awakening after I wrote my book was I was reading the final script before I was sending it to the publisher. And as I was reading through my book, when I went through my childhood and my adolescence and my 20s, 30s, 40s up to this point, I was like, wow, all of that happened to me? You gotta be kidding. And I'm like, is this normal? And that was when I was really starting to ask myself questions. Is this normal? Do other people have screwed up lives like this, like I did? I actually came to the realization that no, they don't. Some do in some aspects, but the amount of areas that I had gone through with all of these learning lessons, I knew that there was something bigger, better, and more powerful, and why I was here. And that was where my questions really, really started to come in. And ever since that realization, from that time until this time now, today, to this present moment, I ask myself questions on a daily basis. And that's why my world is small, because it's all about quality, not quantity of individuals in my life. And I know for a fact that there's only two reasons why people come into my life. The first reason is, number one, they are coming into my life because I am going to learn something from them. And I'm very intuitive and I really pay attention to them, whether they're in my life for 5 minutes or whether they're in my life for 2 weeks or a month. There's something that I'm bringing
Or a
brought forth.
lifetime. Yeah.
Yes. And then the second one is, why are they in my life? They are in my life because I am here to teach them something.
Mhm.
And I make it, and I've simplified it to that. So I'm very, what of myself do I need to give to them to understand, to help them progress within their journey?
Mm.
And that's how I look at life now. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. Because that's one thing that really helped me keep my sanity when I was going through some tough times. I got back home. My father got cancer. I used to be extremely, extremely, extremely impatient. I would blow up for no reason. And the previous year, when we went on walks with my father, and I'm a very fit guy, I was having a hard time keeping up pace with him. But then when he got his cancer, he could barely go from his bed to the bathroom. I had to carry him with me. It would take him like 40 minutes, 50 minutes just to pee. And stupid me, I was saying, come on, hurry up, hurry up. We don't have all day long. And then it made me realize I'm the eldest son, the first child. So my father was a very successful geologist, archaeologist, and would always, I was very spoiled growing up. But the greatest gift he gave me was he opened my heart just before he ascended. Through this experience of me at first being stupid, and selfish. Come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. But then it made me stop and reflect. Hey, slow down. This is a very sick man, potentially dying man. I became much now as a result of that. I became much, much more compassionate, understanding, patient. The people that knew me
Mm-hmm.
from before can't even recognize me. For example, if
Yeah.
I go to a restaurant, I ask something to the waiter, she takes more than 2 minutes. Say, why is it taking you so long? Do you want me to go and get it for you? I was that kind of person. But now
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
very understanding, very calm, very compassionate because hey, things happen. So when I look at things that way, I ask, what is this trying to teach me? What is the lesson for me to learn to this? And what allowed me to save my sanity was, again, sure, in the moment, I didn't know it because I wasn't awake enough and I was clouded. My thinking was clouded by, I don't know, anger, frustration, whatever you want to call it. But then I realized, hey, slow down. And everything, even the most painful event that you go through, there's a beautiful gift if you look at it the right way, if you ask the right question. What is this trying to teach me? What is the lesson for me to learn to that? And once I understood that, then I've been a completely different person. Now I understand things at a much higher, deeper level. I've been trying to help other people see it the same way, but again, there's no point in forcing people. When it's their time, they will understand it. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
enough rambling. I don't know why I started even rambling on that, but
No, but what you're saying is so true. And
mhm,
with everything that you're saying, I get and I understand. And I've been on that journey as well. Because when things do happen within your life, and you have to shift that perspective in order to grow. And, there was just something that happened to me just recently, and I automatically went to angry, because I'd worked on, this project for a long time. And then something happened and it didn't work out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, are you kidding me? All the work and everything that I've put into this. And then it was like, oh, Shannan, stop. That's what I do. I stop and I just go into my silence. And it's like, this is happening for me, not to me, because there is something bigger and better coming. The universe has stopped it for a reason.
mhm,
There's always a reason. And I know that and I understand that. And when I go into that mode, then it's like, okay, it is, it is. And then my belief system kicks in and
beautiful.
I get it.
And once you get it, your life becomes completely different. A whole new life opens up in front of you.
And once you get it, that's where the being an impatient individual evaporates,
Big time.
because you know that everything happens in proper timing. And that's also why with me too, I'm laid back, I'm more relaxed,
Oh yeah.
I'm more loving, more confident, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, whatever,
Not only that,
ease
also
and flow.
you become, at least for me personally, nothing, and I mean nothing, stresses me anymore. Because
Yeah.
now I know and I understand what things are about, why things happen. As long as
Mhm.
it doesn't physically kill me and I'm not afraid of dying, I'm not saying this to say I want to die, absolutely not. It's just that as long as it doesn't physically kill me, so what? For example, someone wants to not do business with me or fire me. Okay, go ahead. Someone wants to call the cops on me. Okay, here's my phone.
Mhm.
When you
Mhm.
do that, you get that place become very dangerous because nobody can control you, manipulate you, threaten you. Not in a cocky and arrogant way, but in a self-assured, confident way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's a beautiful place to be.
It is. It's absolutely amazing. And when you get to that place where you and I both are, those people also that wanted to try to control you and manipulate and all that, they're all gone because they can't do that anymore.
You take away the power.
You've taken away their power. The only power that you've got is the power which is within you. And that power that's within you radiates out of you, which attracts all these beautiful, amazing people in, which we
Absolutely.
have clear.
Exactly,
Mhm.
because life is a stage. There's a saying that says you're the average of the five people you spend most time with. So if
Mhm.
you're with five lazy, fat, unambitious people, guess what? You'll be the sixth one. But if you're with five
Exactly.
fit, successful people, you'll be the sixth because it's going to inspire you. It's going to empower. Hey, these guys, sure, they work hard, but they don't have anything more than me. They don't have, like me, they have two eyes, they don't have four eyes. They have one nose, they don't have three. If they can do it,
Mhm.
I can do it. They're going to inspire you, uplift you. Be with people that uplift you, not people that bring you down.
And that's the one thing I truly believe is if you are in a room, you never want to be the smartest person in that room.
I was about to say that. Yes.
Never,
Yes.
never, 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 never. Those people that have an ego are the ones that want to be the smartest one in the room. And those are usually the people that are the most insecure because they want to have that attention drawn to them. No, I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room
No.
because I want to be around people that I'm going to learn from, that I'm going to excel
Mhm.
from, and they're going to get me to the place that I want to be at my end result.
Don't get me wrong, I love teaching. I love inspiring, empowering. That's what I built my business, my life around that. But just like you said, I want to be with people I can learn from so I can share those gifts with other people so I can together uplift more and more people. And they can do the same
Exactly.
with other people. So we can together create ripple effects around us and around the world. So together we can collectively change the world. It's my ultimate
I
vision.
agree with you 100%. Yeah,
Yeah. Beautiful.
absolutely.
Beautiful. Just want to get back to one thing you mentioned that way back when you were in high school, you said you were all about pleasing and fitting in. So as a result of that, were you popular with the boys?
Absolutely. But I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't
Yeah.
in a good way.
Yeah.
No, it was not in a good way
Mm.
because I was looking for love in all the wrong places because I didn't like myself.
And you
I didn't
attracted the
feel
wrong people, the
that
wrong
I was
guys.
worthy.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't feel that I was worthy, but that also stemmed into later on in my life as well, in my relationships. So I attracted men that manipulated me, that walked all over me, that didn't treat me nicely. And I was so afraid to lose them, so I would let them do that to me because I devalued who I was as an individual. I had more than it was. I had more boyfriends in high school, like it was mainly my grade 11 and 12 year because that was when I was extremely lost.
Mm,
And I had more boyfriends than what I definitely should have. And they were like very short term, if you know what I mean. And but when I got into my 20s and 30s, I only had 3 relationships.
mm,
They were long relationships, and one ended up being my husband. And, you know, but I attracted, the ones that were narcissists and manipulated me. And that was so yeah, it wasn't good.
Speaking of your husband, how did you meet him?
I actually met my husband when I was 14 years old. We were at a softball tournament, and him and I had a crush. We had a crush on each other for about 3 years. And yeah, we were like kissy, you know what I mean? And it was nothing major. And then I ended up meeting up with him again when I was about 27 years old and he was 30.
Okay.
And that was basically how we had met. But we were opposites attract. And in this case, it would really was. When I talked about individuals that didn't treat me well, he was one of them.
Oh, okay.
Very much he was one of them. Yeah, he played a major role within my addiction.
Uh,
Um,
You mean the
you know,
drinking?
yeah, just because I had how I viewed our relationship was he was always first no matter what. Always first. Then it was his family. Now this is how I viewed things, right? So it was always him, his family, the business, the children, and then me. And I would let him do whatever he wanted to do, let him party with his friends, like whatever,
Mm,
throughout our whole relationship because I loved him so much and I was so afraid of losing him that I always put myself on the back burner. I never stuck up for myself or anything. But then as the years went by, he just got used to all of that,
mm,
and then so of course, I was always put on the back burner for everything. And even though there was so many times that I was hurt, I was devastated, you know what I mean? But I never stuck up for myself. And then so that was where it became my fault. So what did I do? That also added to the numbing of the pain of me drinking alcohol. Because there was always in the back of my mind, oh, you know what? He is going to start, I am going to be first one of these days, one of these days, one of these days. Well, those days never came because you have to treat somebody how to treat you. And
mm.
you have to love yourself first before anybody else can love you.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what it was. I didn't love myself, so I was letting him not love me either. I didn't have the strength to stick up to myself and say, hey, don't you treat me like this anymore. So of course the communication wasn't there. So he didn't realize how deeply he was hurting me, until after the fact, until I had all these resentments and anger and everything that had just basically come out of me.
Mm,
And then once I started getting on my journey and then I started to change and everything, then that was when my healthy boundaries really kicked in. Now he looks at me like, oh my God.
Was he
You
support
know,
was he supportive in your journey of awakening and overcoming your addiction and all that?
he was very much so, but it was extremely difficult for him as well because I was not the same person at all anymore. I
Absolutely.
became very, very verbal in the aspect of telling him what I like and what I don't like, what I accept and what will no longer be tolerated.
Mm,
This is not how you treat me anymore.
sure.
So it was a whole learning lesson for him as well. And through that whole process, he also had to elevate and change his vibration and everything too, right? Because I was no longer accepting being around drinking. There was just so many facets to our relationship as well. And I had to release not only my family 100%, but I also had to release his family 100%. Because it wasn't a marriage of just me and my husband. It was a marriage of me, my husband, and my family. And I wasn't in his family, and I wasn't tolerating that at all anymore. I didn't marry his family. I married him, and he's very, very close to his family. So that was a really, really big thing for him to, undertake. But now there's healthy boundaries set and everything. And now our relationship is very, very, very good. And it's growing. We literally had to start foundation up. We
Mm,
had to start everything brand new. And you have to. We had to because of where I was. I wasn't that person that he married, you know, all those years ago. I was not that individual. And I'll be honest, there were times where we thought, should we even be together anymore?
sure.
Can we really make this work? Are we willing to grow and accept each other for who we really are? Is our love strong enough for that? Is this person that I'm looking at right now across the table, do I love this person? Do I love this new person? And
So
I also had to look at myself as well in that. But I also had to forgive, all the things that I should have done or I should have said. There was a lot of forgiveness for myself that I had to do within our relationship because I wasn't an angel either.
sure. So what was the thing that helped you keep it together between the two of you and not let it go your own ways? Because that's something that every couple, doesn't matter what stage you're, whether you've been married for 50 years or even just for a year or whatever, yeah, just together, they all come to a point where they, you know, when they get to know each other more and more, they realize that, hey, maybe there's some big clashes that we need to either work together on, or if we can't, maybe we're not meant to be together. So how did you guys manage to keep it together?
Um, the biggest thing with us finding that foundation within our relationship is I never felt that I truly felt safe with him,
Hmm.
because of all the things that had happened throughout, our relationship, because of how I viewed myself within the relationship. Like I always felt that I was on the bottom, right? So I never felt that I was protected or, he had my back or anything, right? So really what really kept us together was us building that friendship now. And of course, me freeing myself, like there is like nothing about me that everything is out there. I've got nothing to hide. Literally nothing to hide. You can ask me a question about every area in my life and I will tell you. And from that, I could actually build my friendship up with him. And I know that I can stand on my own 2 feet. So I don't need anybody to protect me anymore. But we've got that friendship which is extremely strong. And I can talk to him about anything anymore. Now, I have nothing to hide. And the biggest thing too is we've got 4 children. And I want our 4 children to grow up and to see what a true love marriage is, where we can express ourselves, we can grow. Now they see their father, he built, he's working on the legacy, of the oil industry and, the businesses and that, right? But now look at the mother, you
Mm.
know, now she's going on world stages. She's on podcasts. She's got her own podcast. She's a best-selling author. You know what I mean? Now they're just
Hiring.
exposed to much more. I'm opening up a whole new world for our children and our grandchildren.
Beautiful. So are you in good terms now with your siblings, and how the fact that you've been able to build this beautiful foundation, beautiful family, loving family and nurturing home that you did not have growing up, how is that inspiring them to do the same in their own lives and their own families?
Sadly, I'll be honest with you. I don't have anything to do with my family. And the
Mm.
reason being is because they are still conducting their lives
Okay.
as normal. Um, and it's sad because I can't be a part of that. Um, and I work too hard to get where I am,
Sure.
and I can't excuse those behaviors anymore.
Absolutely.
And I can't make that normalized for my children because
Mm.
it's not acceptable from where I am now, what my standpoint is. So they have to decide on their own where they're going and what they're doing, and they have to work on their own individual families as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
There's
But I
no,
do send love and light. I do send them love and light.
absolutely. Is there still contacts once a year, Christmas, or not even that?
No, no, there's not.
Mm.
There's not. But you know what? I'm at peace with that too.
Sure.
I'm very at peace with that because I am not brought back into the chaos at all anymore and the
Mm.
trauma and just the blame game and all of that. Like that's not my world anymore.
Sure.
Everybody has to take responsibility for their actions. And once they realize that, then, and would there ever be a point in time that I may, have anything to do with my family members? At this point in time, I can honestly say no,
Mm.
because that's not something that I'm longing for and yearning for from them anymore, because I know my journey is not about them anymore. It
Mm.
had been for so long. My journey had been about everybody else for so long.
Mm.
It's not like that anymore. My journey is about me, my children, and my husband, and for us to build our legacy for our generations to come. That's what my life is about, and to help people. to help
Sure,
people.
sure. Absolutely. Do you think they're still secretly watching an eye on you? Not in a bad way, in a positive way,
I believe so.
and
I
seeing
believe
you
so.
soar and getting on podcasts and books, they maybe their ego might be resentful, but the heart deep down would say, "Wow, look at her. We're proud of her." Have you sent? Are they aware of the book? Maybe have you sent? Maybe I don't know. Send them a copy of your book, something to inspire them to open the door for them to. Hey, I changed it. You guys can too. And when you're ready, my doors are open for you. And
Well,
that.
I know for a fact that a couple of my family members have read my book.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
when my book was published, there was a couple of my one brother had phoned me up and he had said that he was so proud of me. And that was my
Wow.
story. And I was like,
Oh,
and him and I were on, very good terms. And that was a brother that I looked up to. Like he was the closest thing to a father figure for me.
beautiful.
But then as the months went by and I had grown and I talked more forthcoming about the addictions in the family and everything, right? Because I've got nothing to hide. There are issues within our family that they don't want to admit about themselves. So of course, then the distance started to happen.
Mm.
I was also told by a really good friend of mine that was good friends with other family members that I my book was a lie. Everything in my book was a lie. And I was just kind of like, how can it be a lie? Because it's my story. It's about my thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and it's all about my addiction. And then so there's some family members that will not open the book up because then they have to face their truths as well.
That's it.
And and it's just like I'm sorry, like I said, that's your journey. You can continue to be in denial and continue to be in your addiction and your toxicity, and you can continue to be a low vibrational being, and that's fine, but look at me soar.
Wow. Beautiful. Indeed, just like we said in the beginning of this call, we cannot force others. We all on our own
No.
journey. When they're ready, they will come to you. They will say, hey, just like the saying says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And when the student
Mhm,
has mastered the content, the teacher fades away. And then the student
mhm.
becomes the new teacher for the new waves.
And the reason I know that some of my family members had said that, my book was all a lie was because I know that, coming from a small town, everybody knows each other, right? So people, and I know that there's a lot of people from our hometown that had read my book.
Mm.
So they would have been like, oh my God, like, did you read Shannan's book? Like, this is what she had said in it or
Became the
whatever.
talk of the town.
And yeah. And so it would have been like, oh my God. Like, so what they did that to protect them because they didn't want people to be judging them.
Mm.
And what are people going to say? Because that's what happened in small town communities.
Especially
What are people going to say? What are people going to think? You
even more
know?
so if they're still living in that environment, in that small town.
And that's exactly what actually happened with my husband's side of the family. That's why I had to release them because they made the book all about them.
Mm.
And it was just like, wow, like it's so far from you guys. Yeah, but you know what? That's okay too. They're in their little small element there as well, and it's okay.
A question came to mind. So when you're writing the book, did you tell anyone you're writing a book or you told no one?
No, it was funny because when I decided that I was going to write a book, it just kind of happened, over time because as my journey started to unfold, I thought to myself, if there's just one person, literally one person that I could help save,
That's it.
that went through the addictions or anything that I had gone through my entire life, losing a baby, whatever it was, because I've experienced so much, then you know what? That's all I want to do. And I really never thought about me at that time when I was writing my book, but I would sit in a chair in this one room in our house, and my husband would come on every Sunday. We would have coffee in there. And I would talk to him about my book, what I was writing at that particular time. And I didn't realize it either, that it was really healing me and freeing me at the same time that I was doing it. I didn't realize that till months later after my book was published, that was the process I was going through as well. And as I would be typing, him and I, that a conversation would be brought up, and I would have a lot of anger and a lot of resentment and stuff like that towards him. And then so I would question him and this and that. So uh, that whole process of writing that book, did I plan it in advance? No, I didn't. It all just kind of flowed to me naturally. And that's why my book was written within 3 months. And it was very easy for me to write, very easy, because it came from my heart.
Beautiful. Wow. Powerful. Listen, Shannan, love talking to you. We're only just scratching the surface, just the episode.
Our interview is like well over an hour. This is
See, my MTA,
also
my master trust advisor told me, and he was right once again. Damn you. Listen, I'm not complaining. I absolutely love this. I'm very much looking forward to it. Let's call this one, let's call it a day for tonight. Tonight for you, morning here is 10:19 a.m. Thursday morning. Beautiful. The beach is calling. That's right. I'm joking. The beach.
I know.
I can't wait. Can't wait. I'm joking. I'm joking. But let's. I'd like to keep my podcast about an hour. There used to be an hour and a half, 2 hours, but they were way too long. So now, because of 3 years of feedback from people, and finally my stubborn self said, "Okay, let's make it under 1 hour." Maybe they're right. Always listen
We're gonna do it
to the
again.
feedback
We're
you
gonna
get
do
from
it
your
again.
audience. Always listen. That's very powerful tool. So let's call it a night for that. If someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
You can go on Facebook or Instagram, and it's Shannan Mondor, and my name Shannan has 2 A's in it, and Mondor is 2 O's. You can connect with me through my website, shannanmondor.com. And everything's all in there, all the information regarding my book, which is How in the Hell Did I Get Here? Forever Changing the Genetic Blueprint. You will see my programs that I offer that I can help to transform you as well. Everything's there. Yeah. And I would love to connect with you. And you could, like I said, you can message me on Facebook or Instagram. That would be wonderful.
Awesome. I'll put all of those in the show notes. You've already sent me, I believe, your bio, your profile picture, as well as your links. I'll put them once this goes live. And listen, in the meantime, I salute you. You're truly with a heart. I love your story, your passion, your journey. I love the fact that now in a stage of your life that you're sharing your gift so that you can, just like you said, my motto and yours are pretty much similar. If when I bring someone on my podcast, if their story can inspire just one person to do good, to get back their, belief in themselves and get them out of the rut they're in, then for me, that's success. So we're very happy that we're aligned on that. I'm already looking forward to part 2 and then part 3, 4, 5, 6, part 55.
Yes.
Maybe start a podcast together. Who knows? Anyways, I salute you. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world. Your presence, your impact, your gift, your smile, your charisma, everything. Stay safe. Stay awesome. Keep warm. That's a good one, especially now. God bless you and talk to you very soon, my dear friend. Take care.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Bye-bye.